An outbreak of Rudelian plague has struck the Cardassian colony of Pentath 3. Ch'pak is not an expert on luck, and Cisco says 4 pips will make Worf wish he'd gone into botany. Hey, everybody. Have you been feeling stressed at all lately? Let's get all that stress away because it's happy time. It's the 7th rule with Cirroc, Lofton, everybody.
Hello.
We also have a very special guest to ensure that we stay happy and to class up the joint, Malissa Longo.
Hello.
You gave a look like that's a lot of pressure on me. My name's Ryan T. Husk. We are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 4 Rules of Engagement. Speaking of happy, this was kind of a... I don't know, what was this kind of...
It wasn't a happy...
I don't know. I don't want to say it was an unhappy episode, but...
I was waiting to hear your transition on that. Let me see how he's going to pivot on this one.
I have zero transition. Directed, by the way, by Mr. LeVar Burton. Written by Ronald D. Moore. Story by Bradley Thompson and David Weddle. How you guys doing?
All right.
All right.
You're just waiting for me to hang myself on that happy comment.
I was like, how's he going to transition? This is going to be a good one. Can he find anything happy about this episode?
Well, that's why Melissa's the MVP here today, because I had a feeling Cirroc and I would be on the same page about this one. But first of all, let's just say a giant shout out to Walking Art made by Melissa.com. Looks like Melissa's wearing a shirt from her.
Yes, I may have dropped food on it. I did.
That's a, what does it say at the bottom there?
It says the Great River will provide.
Beautiful.
And it provided some pinto beans.
And I also have a Walking Art made by Melissa shirt right here.
Wahoo!
I like that.
Which is the chat pack. Pretty awesome, pretty amazing. So check that out in the comments or in the description box below. We'll have the link for Walking Art made by Melissa.com. You can get all kinds of goodies. You can get a Ferengi. You can get a chat pack. You can get, dream catchers and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I love that chat pack, man. That's a great shirt.
Isn't that the
Thank
best?
you.
Yeah, it is. It actually reminds me of that artist, a very famous artist that made those portraits.
Right. Melissa Longo.
Yes, it's the other one.
The one that with the portraits and sardies.
Right. He's a New Yorker artist.
Yeah,
I think
and
he's
the New Yorker. Yeah.
I'm gonna find it because I see your perplexed look.
Right.
Ryan.
I was born with this look, but no, you are right that I have zero knowledge of any art or culture or anything outside of sports, Star Trek, or music or kitties.
I think it's called Hirschfeld.
Oh, yeah, you've mentioned him before, actually.
Yes, and he has made Hirschfeld. He made these portrait character drawings of pretty much all of the Star Trek people.
Oh.
And here it is. I'm going to show it to you guys so you can see it. Here's his Leonard Nimoy, for example. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, yeah, we can.
You see the Nimoy, right?
Yeah.
That's the Nimoy.
That's great.
His name is Al Hirschfeld. And he did Deep Space Nine as well. He did, I think, Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I'm gonna look for it. But that's it's kind of in that style, and I love that style. We talked to another artist before in one of our interviews, Ryan.
Right, Duncan Regehr.
Right, where I brought his name up.
Mm-hmm.
But just because I'm such a fan of the style, so just a shout out to the deceased late great Hirschfeld.
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of his, actually when he used to play sports he used to play for the Vikings, the great running back Hirschfeld Walker, if you'll recall.
Yes.
Really great. Shout out to him.
Yes, and his candy bar Hershey's, we also enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Anyway, the comedian Jerry Hirschfeld. No, that's terrible. God. So Malissa, as you can tell, Cirroc and I have both seemed to be putting forth a lot of effort into not talking about this episode, but I think
yes, a lot.
I hadn't noticed.
Well, let's talk about it. I'm going to be honest. The first 5 seconds, right when the episode started, my first thought was, oh, this one. And okay. I'm definitely not the target audience for a courtroom drama. And that's what this is. And I bet it did really well with those people, the people that like the courtroom dramas or the people that like the suspense. I mean, it's a very well written episode. It was well acted. It was well directed. It's great all around. But I'm not the target audience for this particular type of episode, I think. My guess was Cirroc wasn't either. Was I right?
Well, here are my notes. If you can see, it's not much.
And one of the notes was LeVar Burton. That was like, like
literally.
Let me fill up some space here. 42-minute running time.
Yeah. And I just wrote the title down here too. So the half of it is the title and LeVar Burton's name. So it's literally not many notes. I thought I'd go off just the cuff because I feel like this is more of an emotional type of feeling episode than one to take notes on.
Right. And no B plot.
No B plot. Yeah. I talked about this before. We had an episode where I talked about how deep Star Trek, not just Deep Space Nine, but Star Trek has the ability to incorporate other genres of television into it. So Star Trek can do a Western, for example.
Right.
Right. And it works in Star Trek. They can also do a CSI type of crime scene investigation type of show, which is like a police show. And they can also do, in this case, which is the lawyer, courtroom, legal drama show, right? So they have the ability to encompass all of these things. And I actually think that it would be in their interest one day later on in the future to develop such a show that is exactly focused on these kinds of subcategories for the
Star
people
Trek
who
CSI,
do.
Right.
Right. Star Trek CSI.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to see the different legal aspects from different races, different species, and how they handle their legal system, not just how the Federation handles their legal system.
What a fun idea! You're right.
Right. So they could also do the Star Trek. What is a law show? Law and Order, right?
Right.
Law and Order Star Trek edition, right?
Yeah, Star Trek: The Law and Obsidian Order. Well, we've seen one or two of these. You know, like there was the one where O'Brien was being, tried in the courtroom, the Cardassian court. Right. But you're right, Malissa. I think it's more interesting if it's on an alien homeworld, because then that's the twist. That's the setting, is their laws and their rules and their regulations. Whereas when it was under Federation law, there was no twist. There was no added flavor to it. You know what I mean?
Well, because we kind of know what we're getting, and we're kind of getting an Americanized system of justice, but we're calling it the Federation. So
right.
And it wasn't even like the system of justice itself was not even really part of the story. The story was just, here's what happened, and it's looking bad for Worf. It looks like he did something bad, and then oops, plot twist. It turns out it was all just a trick.
Right.
It wasn't really even about the trial itself. It was a way to tell a story, And I thought that it was really good the way they did like the flashbacks thing, but we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Looks like Cirroc, you're going to say something.
Yeah, that was one of the few notes that I did take. Actually, was
we're going to be out of things to say in like 2 minutes.
I know, right? But no, I do think that I want to say that the actor who plays the guys, he does a good job. So this is not a knock on his performance.
Chapok,
I
think.
Is that Chapok?
Shakur. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. As soon as you said Chapok, I'm like, I got to beat him to it.
I had to.
Yeah, Ch'pak, that's his name.
Yeah. So I liked his performance. I thought he was a worthy adversary or a worthy representation of a Klingon legal counsel or whatever. So I thought that was accurate and that he was good at that as far as provoking Cisco to bring out his chess game, right? Let me bring out my chess moves. So I thought he did a good job.
Now that you mention it, though, it does make me think that we did have a Nam or two. One of the Nams, speaking of Ch'pak, was Shakar. So we had Ch'pak and Shakar. So I think that works well.
Yeah.
There. Do you guys remember who got the other Nam?
Let's see.
I don't think this person's name was actually mentioned. Just who they are was mentioned.
It was it Curzon or?
Well, it was. Was it Curzon? I don't know.
Curzon was mentioned.
Oh, really?
Curzon was mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to take a note of that.
He was the Klingon expert. Jadzia said, I dabble, but Curzon was the expert.
You're right. It was. It was Kern also, and Alexander. Those were the two because they actually mentioned, I don't know if they said, I think they said Alexander's name, but they didn't say Kern's name. They just said, in your brother, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, yeah. So his son and his brother, right?
Mm-hmm. Now I'm starting to try. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, did Shakar get mentioned? I thought he did, but maybe that was the last episode. Anyway, so no.
I didn't hear Shakar's name in this one, but it's possible.
I think I was just reaching there. I think that was last week that he was last week, and I'm still focused on that. But yeah, so you liked his performance, huh?
I liked his performance. I thought he was good. I mean, I think that the problem in the story lies with one, the fact that we know that the Federation is going to rule in favor of the Federation. There's like no mystery behind that. And so that leaves it flat. It doesn't give you that edge of suspense, like what's going to happen. Now, had they been in a Klingon court, then we definitely would have seen what you're talking about. I believe that it would have been like Cisco having to, really prove to the Klingons that it's in their best interest to, grant him a reprieve or whatever for whatever it was. So I thought that was one thing. And the other thing is, I thought that this episode was really going to be about him killing his brother or attempting to kill his brother, Kern, right? Like, they didn't even mention that when they were running down his credibility and saying that, you lost your title, you've been stripped, your son is living in disgrace. And even your own brother asked you to kill him, right? Or something to that.
And you tried to do it. You didn't even say no. You're like, all right, right now? All right, sure.
Right. And that would be a credibility.
Yeah, but isn't Kern technically dead in the eyes of the Empire? And because he's living under a different name and a different identity that he doesn't even know about. So why would the Klingon Empire know about it too?
That's true. I think that's accurate. So they did bring up his brother, but they didn't bring that exact thing up. Maybe that's been properly covered up and not revealed to the Klingons like you're discussing. So I think it's a fair argument.
Yeah. Do you think when Worf stabbed him and like the blood that comes out of him is called like Kern's nectar? Or do you think that they just call it blood?
Yeah, God. No comment. No comment.
It's probably just blood. But I think that's how they. Let me change the subject quickly.
Wow.
Please do.
I think that what they did do that was new and interesting and created a twist was making the flashbacks break the fourth wall and talk to us. Like. He's like remembering, he's like, oh yeah, I was handing him a drink and he said something about how he ordered prune juice. And Worf loves his prune juice or whatever it was. It was like a really interesting thing. And I don't remember Star Trek ever doing that, breaking the fourth wall and basically talking to us, in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a new twist on. It was a cool twist. I liked that because they don't usually do that. But
it was one of my things. Absolutely, I have to agree with you, Malissa. And I think that's a director's choice. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah.
I too was trying to figure out if that was on the page or not, because I feel like it has to partially be on the page, because that's a pretty drastic change for a director to make. And I don't know anything about the power that the director has in Star Trek. I don't know if they can, because that's not altering the dialogue, but that is altering the script, where it says, Quark turns to himself. Yeah. So I wonder if it was just a director's choice, or if there was a deliberate change that was made. But somewhere down the line, I do feel like that change was made, and it wasn't like that. That's how the story was pitched initially. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel like that was somebody or some people that said, we need to add a new element. We need to create something different or interesting. And I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen movies where they do that kind of a thing, where they tell the story and they bring you back into the moment of the story, and they kind of walk you through it in that kind of thought process, thinking out loud, whatever your thought process is. And I thought that was well done in this episode. First time I'd seen it before. I actually kind of wish more of the episode was like that, because that to me that was the better part. That was the best part. Like,
you're right.
O'Brien talking, and I wish they just kept replaying the story through different people's eyes, and there you play this like telephone game of perception, like, oh well, I saw it like this and I saw it like this, and I thought they could have played with that aspect of it more, and I would have appreciated it, because that was the one saving grace, I think, for this episode, was the fact that O'Brien was sitting in the captain's chair, acting as if he was making the decision. I like that aspect,
Yeah, and I loved Quark's. I forgot the names of the Dabo girls. No.
Yeah, he named like 4 different ones.
Yeah. Different girl pops up.
And then it was Morn. And then Morn was about to say, and then he jumps in.
Yeah.
Interrupts
it. Good touch.
Well, Malissa, what did you think overall of the episode? Was it entertaining? Was it interesting? Was it boring? Was it exciting?
I have to admit, this is not one of my favorites. I do like courtroom dramas, but I feel like this was an unprovable case that they were making something up that you can't really prove, because any of the attributes the arbiter, the lawyer guy.
Oh yeah.
Any of those attributes that he was claiming were Klingon, and claiming that Worf was making these decisions because he was a Klingon, these attributes aren't solely Klingon, because many human beings have reacted in this way too. So it's not really a provable case. He doesn't have. There's too much room for reasonable doubt, for lack of a better word. So that's where I see a flaw. And and like, example, when Worf punches him out on the stand, human beings have done that to each other on the stand, so it's not solely a Klingon, reaction.
Right.
Jadzia, he brings up the holosuite program to Jadzia and saying, well, what decision did he make at the end of the thing? But I wanted Sisko to ask, well, if you were in the role of the the gladiator conqueror or whatever. What decision would you have done? It's part of the game, So he I don't know. There's just too many holes of, well, Jadzia is just as capable of making that choice because of the game that they're playing at the time as Worf is. So it just flies out the window in my book.
I thought for sure you were reaching for some chips that whole time. When you reached out like this and you're reaching for something over there, I don't know why, but I thought for sure that you were reaching for like some kind of payoff that we could watch you grab a chip and be like, that's all I have to say about that.
Oh,
but nothing came.
I was just using my hands. And I was playing with the bracelet.
Cool. Well, look, I got some bad news, guys. We're coming up to our break. So Cirroc's like, it's not bad news. No, we're just kidding. We're having fun. But yeah, we'll take a quick break. We will come back and we're going to really get in depth on this episode. We're going to dive deep into every last little meaty chunk of this thing. And we'll also talk about the trivioids. The least trivioids maybe ever, by the way.
Your first trivioid had me thinking, like, did I watch this episode? Because I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will take a quick break and we'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton and special guest Malissa Longo. We are talking all about Deep Space Nine Season 4 episode, Rules of Engagement, the 7th Rules of Engagement. Directed by awesome LeVar Burton. Here are some trivioids. I'm going to be honest. I was like halfway through the episode and I realized I hadn't written any trivioids down. Kind of like Cirroc, how you only had like 3 lines of notes. I actually was struggling to find, I'm like, it's just kind of a one long story rather than something with a bunch of different plot points and characters and story items. But here are the ones that I had. Worf has some pretty crazy dreams. Worf likes to be Sompek in his holosuite programs. An outbreak of Rudelian plague has struck the Cardassian colony of Pentath 3. Worf orders prune juice from Quark. We meet Ch'Pok, the first necklace Klingon. That was just me being mean. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Ch'Pok is not an expert on luck. Chief O'Brien and Bashir are throwing a party for Worf at Quark's, and it looks like quite a bash. No, he goes like this, quite a bash. Sisko says Worf is going to make a hell of a captain someday. And Sisko says 4 pips will make Worf wish he'd gone into botany, which makes me kind of feel bad that we make botany kind of the butt of the jokes when there's an actual botanist on the show.
I know, right?
Poor thing.
And I was thinking, well, there's a lot of great things that have come out of botany.
Name 9.
Well,
food? Did you say food?
Food. Food is
okay.
Good enough for me.
Yeah, that's
food.
You guys notice that Cisco went, and it's going to be a real bash. He kind of did this thing like, ooh, boy, I can't wait.
Yeah, I didn't even check that out. I didn't notice it. But I did notice Cisco's performance in this, though. I thought he, once again, when he gets mad at somebody, like he got mad at Worf in this, it's like when your dad gets mad at you, how like everything gets quiet.
Well, when he gets mad, he becomes alpha, like fully alpha. He's like, all right, that I'm about to say something, and that's that. So deal with it.
Totally tangle with the Klingons. Totally tango.
Yes, he can. And I thought that was pretty good. I mean, as far as how he went toe to toe with Worf and with this Ch'Pok.
This Tupac.
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
So, right? But the other thing that Sisko made a point of in this episode was that you can't put a man's heart on trial. And I thought that was kind of a poignant moment when he said that. It just made me think, oh, can you put a man's heart on trial? And it just caused me to stop and pause and think. What about you guys?
There are a lot of good lines in there, right? Yeah, and that's, I noticed good lines more than I noticed, anything else. Or at least fun ones where Tupac Shakur says that would be icing on the cake. And Cisco says, I wouldn't eat that cake just yet. That was less about the line and more about the delivery for me.
I thought, I want to eat cake.
That's Malissa Longo, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Cake is always on her mind.
Always.
And that's okay. Tupac also says, you acted out of conscience and you were punished for it. And he said Worf was a traitor to his people for growing up on Earth and wearing their clothes. That was interesting too. Like, there seemed to be something there where they say, like, Tupac was saying Worf wasn't really a Klingon because, he's like, well, you're not really a Klingon. You grew up on Earth. You did the Earth customs. You dress in their uniforms. You dress like people from the Federation. And it reminded me of just, there are a lot of cultures and customs, where people on Earth, we say like, oh, well, you're less of this now because you're dressing like that, or or you're less of that because you're born here or born there. You know what I mean? Like, and it's almost like Klingon gatekeeping, for lack of a better term, where they're saying, or like how fans say, you're not a real fan unless you watched all the original series, or you're not a real fan unless this. He's saying you're not a real Klingon because you grew up somewhere else or you're wearing their clothes. And so that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, that thing happens all the time. It also happens in race. I mean, people say that you're not authentic, whatever race you want to plug in there, if you don't behave in a certain type of ways. So those kinds of gatekeeping happen across the board, and especially when it comes to identity. People say you're not a real American or black or this or that.
Or they try and impose their idea of what your identity should be on you. I know I've experienced that many times being a mutt. So, that goes on.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're talking about. People of mixed backgrounds, right? Either you have a mixed background. You could also have a non-traditional upbringing where you're adopted, which is like the case of Worf. He's been adopted by people that are, not like him. So, and I think that's another thing that Star Trek does a good job of, is speaking to those people, right? This is about speaking to those people that are in this category of, you're not the real deal, or you're not official because you have this element of your personality or your upbringing or your DNA that makes you different. Right. And I think that they did a good job as far as addressing that, like they always do.
Yeah, it's a qualifier, and people use these qualifiers on other people, and we all know it's bullshit. Like, you can't take away somebody's value just by saying, oh, well, you're less valuable because of where you were born, or where, what your parents were like, or whatever, like. And you're right. Star Trek, I've always thought that it seems like Star Trek speaks to the other. They always give a voice to the other, because we've all been the other at one time or another. And they always give a voice to the other for the people that are othering to see how stupid they're being or how rude they're being, and it's great that they do that. And Star Trek has always done it so eloquently. They don't beat it to death, but they do something and then they go to you and you're like, oh, they kind of give you a look like, oh, you get what I'm saying here? And we go, yes, we do. Continue, please.
Yeah.
They
do that. And the other thing that I kind of picked up on about, I felt a lot of this was also about Cisco too. It wasn't so much about Worf as much as I thought it was also about Cisco, and the fact that Cisco is basically, this is an insight into the kinds of decisions that he has to make on the fly, and him being because you wouldn't normally think of Sisko being the guy who's going to defend Worf, right? You would think there's like a legal counsel, Federation legal counsel. Right. It would be an
or Odo.
Outside, or Odo, right? Somebody who you think that's their designated, like they have experience in that. But the fact that they made it Sisko let me know that they wanted it to be a story that Sisko was heavily involved in, and it meant something to him to be defending almost his own actions, right? He's defending Worf, but he's actually defending himself because he put Worf at the helm. He gave him the defiant to man.
Right.
He also makes life and death decisions. He talked about sometimes you make a decision and you don't live from it, right? You have to make the decision that might cost you your own life. Right?
You know, that's really interesting that you bring that up, and I'm glad you made that point because I hadn't really thought of that at all. But you know, the storyline is about what happened to Worf, right? But you're right that Sisko is the main character. And the reason I think that is because if there is a subplot or a B plot, it is Sisko talking with Odo to dig up dirt. And if you'll notice, Worf is not in every scene other than the flashback. Sisko is, right? Sisko's in the courtroom defending Worf, and then Sisko's out of the courtroom trying to dig up dirt and talk to people and figure things out. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it is, you know, what happened. Worf is the one on trial, but Sisko is the main character of that episode.
Right. I agree with that too. And I hadn't thought of it before you mentioned it, but
yeah, me neither.
Definitely think you are right about that. And I think that he is defending himself and the role of command and shining a light on the fact that everything is not black and white. There's so much gray. There's not always a definitive answer of you made the right choice or not. Sometimes
Melissa, how hungry are you?
That's me, guys. Sorry about that.
That's
that's not Melissa. No, that's my background ambiance over here.
You know,
sorry about that.
You guys notice, speaking of which, how this was the first time we really saw Sisko laying on the mentorship so heavy to Worf. Like he mentioned captaincy stuff to Worf like 3 times. It wasn't like just, oh, you'll get used to being in red. You know, he mentioned being in red, which is command. He mentioned adding a pip and the botany thing. And then he also mentioned like, you know, you should try being a captain, or, you know, like there was a lot in I don't know if it was 1 scene or 2 scenes, but he made at least 3, possibly 4 or 5 comments about command and captaincy and this and that. And we had not seen that in prior episodes.
Yeah, mentorship, like you said. So we've seen now Sisko really kind of been discipline Worf a few times now, like strongly discipline him. When he caught him trying to kill his brother Kern, for example, he came down on him. He's come down on him in this episode, I think, when he said, "That was your first mistake." Tell me what was mistake number 2?
Yeah,
like, he comes down on Worf like pretty heavily, but like you're mentioning, Ryan, we also see that he's being hard and tough on him because he's actually grooming him for what kind of leadership role he'll be in the future, right?
Right. That's what it seems like. It seems like that's why he's being extra hard on him, is because he clearly wants to see him be a captain someday.
Mm-hmm.
And that surprises me, by the way, because Worf is coming from the next generation, and I look at him as somebody with seniority and somebody who has more experience, let's say, than the people on DS9. For some reason, I just look at it that way. Him coming over on the DS9 and being almost like how you would expect Nog to be coming out of Starfleet, like making decisions that weren't the best decisions for somebody with that much experience, right? And so it kind of surprises me when I see him, for example, saying, "Oh, you want me to kill you, brother? No problem. Here." like, whoa, aren't you, tenured enough to the point where you know that that's gonna not sit well with Starfleet, and that you're going to have this pushback, and you may be even brought up on murder charges. So I just felt like some of his naivety is not warranted given the amount of experience that I feel Worf comes to the table with.
Right.
Yeah, but I also think it demonstrates that even though he does have this much experience under his belt, he still has a lot of room to grow and learn. He hasn't learned everything yet, so he is going to make those mistakes, and it doesn't.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop when you stop becoming an ensign or a cadet. It continues on, and the choices and the decisions just get harder from there, especially if he's going into command. So yeah, he's going to make some wrong choices.
Yeah, plus he is transitioning from security officer to strategic operations officer, and then theoretically into command next. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Cirroc, that like, come on, he doesn't know the rules of being in Starfleet by now. Like, but like I've said before, I think that the Klingon culture is whatever the episode of the week needs it to be. Like they'll say like, it is dishonorable to kill an unarmed man in one episode. And then the next episode, they're going to be like, you're going to kill him, but he's unarmed. And he says, in battle, there's nothing more honorable than victory, or what. So it's like they can use honor to say whatever it is, whatever motivation they need, they just use honor. And then they're like, yeah, honor made him do it, honor for whatever.
Yeah, and what I say to that moment is that he has 2 arms. He's not disarmed. He could definitely defend himself. He didn't look meek in any way. He actually looked pretty buff. So he could have defended himself against Worf.
Oh, the necklace guy?
Yeah.
No, he did look kind of buff. He was like a short, stocky Klingon. He wasn't the tall, big ones. He was like a short and wide.
He was Morn's stand-in.
He had muscle.
I don't know, but he definitely looked like he can hold his own. He wouldn't just.
Yeah. He was the wrestling champion of Kronos.
But you know what? Worf hit him with a nice set of combination move when he got up and did his little killer strike. It was like a 3-piece combo. I was like, whoa.
I rewound it and watched it 3 times too.
Did you rewatch?
He's like,
yeah.
He's like,
yeah. It was like a 3-piece ninja combo. And he ended with 1 piece. He ended with the full right
Hadouken.
But they need to dub in Ryan's noises with it. That's so funny.
Yeah, that was and there was a lot of space in between. It was like 1, 2, 3, but that's Star Trek fights. They like, those dances.
Shout out to Chuck Norris for choreographing that little bit of a fight scene, guys. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
We should make a Star Trek Chuck Norris joke. Like when Chuck Norris does a push-up on Deep Space Nine, he doesn't go up, the station goes down.
Melissa says no, so I'm gonna have to go with her on that.
All right, I get 2 thumbs down on that one, but we'll keep working on it.
Okay.
Everybody in the chat, give us a Chuck Norris Deep Space Nine joke, and we'll see what happens. I know the chat's going to come up with some kind of good Chuck Norris Deep Space Nine joke for us.
I did have a nitpick about Cisco calling Chupak to the stand.
Okay.
Because
Chupak wouldn't have to do that. He'd be like, no, I'm going to win this thing. I don't need to do this.
Yeah, he was ahead, and he would know that that's like a ploy to get him to say something or do something. And as a legal counsel or legal representative, he has no obligation to do that. So that's like strictly a volunteer move. And I kind of was like, would another lawyer do that? Would Johnny Cochran get in the witness seat and let the other person's lawyer interrogate him? And I just don't see it.
If he was cocky enough and thought that he was better and smarter than his opponent, then maybe.
Yeah, and Cisco did play to that. He said something like, "Are you ready to play on my battlefield?" or something like that.
Yes, that was a great line. He says, "Care to step onto my battlefield?"
Yeah, and if Chewbacca is cocky enough and think, "Oh, he's got nothing on me. I have nothing to hide." So,
Yeah.
By the way, the admiral's name was Admiral Talara. Just for anybody scoring at home, Admiral Talara. Not much to say, I don't think.
And ego makes people do crazy things. So.
Yeah, there was a big ego thing. I thought there was another moment that I liked too when he came over to him and said, "Why don't you just give up and I'll fight for Worf in the Klingon court. I just want to fight. I don't mind. I'll win. I'll represent Worf." And I'll make sure that he doesn't get the death penalty and this and that. So he kind of came at him like, just give up now because you clearly are going to lose, right? And I like that. I like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right, Melissa, but just to say.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I heard somebody say nitpick. Did I not? Was it you that said nitpick? I think it was you.
Yes, it was me. Sorry. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
It was me.
It's my time to shine, damn it.
Yes. Yes. Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen.
I love Chief O'Brien as much as the next guy, but there's no way he's going to be captaining the Defiant with Kira there.
Agreed. I thought the same thing. I was like, how would he have been in command if Kira were on board? She would have definitely taken over.
She would have been like, not so fast, meat and potatoes.
Right.
It's my turn. I mean, at least I think so. I feel like she has captained the Defiant while O'Brien was there.
Mm-hmm. And she will again in the future. So.
And she owned it because she sat in that captain's seat like this. Remember? She was like,
yeah, what?
She was Bajoran spreading.
Yeah, it was good. Where was she when they cut to the scene with O'Brien in the captain's chair? Was she in the? I didn't see her in the.
She was there. She was there at first when there was Worf and O'Brien and Kira. But then when he said, "If Worf had been injured, would you have taken the captain's seat?" And he said yes. And then when it showed him there, we didn't see Kira to try to eliminate that, train of thought. But the guy didn't say. The guy didn't say if Worf were injured and Kira were not there. You know what I mean?
Right. But she had already been established on the ship, so.
Hence the nitpick.
Yeah, Kira would have taken over.
She'd be like, whoa. Calm down, dude. Sit back down. I got this.
I outrank you.
And that's the thing is when O'Brien was envisioning himself as the captain and they were going through that sequence. They had the black dude on the front at the helm. I think he was piloting it or something, right? And I was like, where did this guy come from? So is he? I've never seen him before. So I thought, is he just the imaginary? If I was captain, is this their imaginary crew that he has?
He's probably thinking, man, if O'Brien gets injured, that seat is mine. I'm next. I'm up next, man. Right, I don't care whose imagination this is.
That's
I'm
the
next.
closest that guy's ever been to captain. He was like one guy away.
Yeah, it's probably, everybody moves up a seat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That guy was doing toilets. They're like, hey, we need you to fly the ship. What? Me? All right.
I've been waiting for this my whole life. Johnson, it's your time to shine. Oh, no, wait, Kira's here. Never mind. Everybody one step back.
Go back to the latrine there.
Back to one, people.
Yeah, back to one.
Okay.
But they also mentioned the search for the truth. And that was another like kind of aspect in this thing. Like, I'm just looking for the truth. And then the line came, which I kind of liked, when Chupak said, "The truth must be one."
Yes.
And it made me another thing that just gives you pause for thought. Like, the truth must be one. So you imagine two people in a court case arguing, and there is the truth, right? But it has to be one. It's not just inherently given to you. You have to argue for it. You have to make your case. You have to present evidence of the truth and make a case for it. So it does kind of in some way have to be one. Yeah.
Yeah. And Cisco, what Sisko said, the other part of what he said was, he says, it's not a fight. It's a search for the truth, because Chupak was trying to make it a fight, and Sisko was like, hey, we're just trying to find out the truth. But also it's kind of similar to when they say, history is written by the victors, right? It's kind of like people are less interested about the truth and more interested in winning, whether it's in court, whether it's in writing history books, whether it's politics, whether it's life, whatever it is. People are like, yeah, the truth is cool, but I'd rather just win. And Chupak was all about that.
Well, if I win, I'm setting this truth. I'm setting the stage for the truth, right? That becomes the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use O.J. Simpson as an example, but O.J. Simpson gets acquitted, and that becomes the truth, even though the truth may be different.
It is the official legal truth, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So the truth must be one. It actually made me think, oh wow, that's a clever line. And they always drop these little one-line clever little nuggets here and there, and you just got to find them,
Right. You know what Melissa's favorite nuggets are, right? The Denver ones. Am I right, Melissa? Am I right?
Oh God.
I don't follow basketball that much, but
I'm surprised you knew that was bad. That's points right there. Thought she was just
I was 100% sure you were going to say Chicken Mick.
Or gold nuggets.
But I don't eat chicken, so
yeah, I thought you were going to say it, but I just
Chicken Mick. Yeah. So we just have a minute left, mercifully. You guys have any final thoughts to put a button on this episode?
Denver Nuggets.
The Denver Nuggets.
Please don't let that be the button. Please don't let that be the last thing they remember.
No, it's just so random. Anyway,
my final thought is that this is the first season they introduced Worf's character. We've just gotten into it, and I feel like he's been getting a very fair share of storylines added to him in his first season on DS9. They've given him now so far, I think we're like 16, 17 episodes into the season right now, and he's had a few that I can remember which were all about him, mostly centralized storylines. So they're really doing their best to integrate Worf into the narrative and make you forget about the time before he was there. And I think they're
developing his character. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's a great fit to the story. I enjoy his character very much. So much so that I went back to learn more about him in TNG. Unfortunately, I found out that I'm learning more about him in Deep Space Nine than I did in TNG. So
exactly.
I'm liking his journey too, and what they're doing with him.
Also, finally, we do want to give a very special thanks to Carmen Shamwell, PJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Homer Frizzell, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Dr. Sue V. Gruner, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Robert Weissburg, Darlena Marie. Very sorry about the Denver Nuggets reference. It was just a joke itch.
It won't happen again.
Oh my gosh.
God.
And
Oh, God.
we'll be right back with the free-for-all on the other side. We'll be right back on the Seventh Rule. Everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule. It's the free-for-all. Melissa is scratching a kitty's bun. We also have Cirroc Lofton, of course. We have Mr. Tim Baum. We have Dr. Sue Gruner, Homer Frizzell, Angie Long, Carly Creer, and it's a big party. First things first, Tim out in Mars, it looks like, has a great announcement for us.
No, as a lot of people know that SpaceX has been launching several hundred satellites to provide internet access. And they opened it up to a beta a few months ago. And I just got notified that my area, they're gonna ship it to me. So I get to test out the broadband from the satellites. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
How is it done now? Is it done differently? I need a little bit of a history lesson.
Okay, I get my internet right now through AT&T. It could be Comcast or whatever.
Right.
Satellite internet has been available for many years, but they're from geosynchronous satellites, which are 22,500 miles up. And that creates a lag time. So if you're trying to do something where, for instance, like this Zoom conference, you couldn't do it with a geosynchronous. So SpaceX started to, if we have them in low Earth orbit, which is about 500 kilometers above Earth, and we have thousands of them, I think they're planning 12,000 satellites that'll give continuous coverage. And because it's closer, it's only, 300 miles, there's no lag time. So you could actually do a video conference. So, and
Oh, whoa.
I hope you're not using Starlink now.
Yeah,
Not a good promotion for their product.
There was like some weird lag for a second there. Well, it's because he's calling in from Mars, you guys. There's a little bit of
Yeah, I'm getting a lag too. I'm like, well.
It's like an echo.
Yeah, but
that was scary.
No, that's good to know. I didn't know anything about the Starlink. I don't know if you guys knew about it, but I just had to Google it right now to kind of.
Nope.
When you said Starlink, I'm thinking Clarice.
Oh no, to be fully operational, they want to be about 12,000 satellites in orbit, and the lifespan is about 5 years. So they'll be continually launching satellites. Right now, they're doing about 120 a month, and so.
Seriously? That many?
Wow.
Yeah, they've already got over 1,000 up. 3 days ago, they just launched another 60. Another 60 is going up.
Everything they're sending up.
That's
Another
a lot
6.
of space traffic.
Yeah, that's a lot up there all of a sudden.
That's a big issue for astronomers, ground-based astronomers, because if you've ever done plates, you basically expose for 6 or 8 hours on the telescope, and asteroids and satellites will streak through. And, you deal with that. But now it's like they're going to be streaking all the time. That's the trade-off. The plus is there's places that don't get internet now or can't afford it, and they'll be able to get internet no matter where they're at.
Mm.
So they've already provided free service to Alaska communities, to the schools, because of the pandemic, everybody's staying home. They don't have good internet. So now SpaceX sent a whole bunch of antennas up to small towns in Alaska to be able to get it.
Interesting. So basically now we all know that asteroids are like the college students of celestial bodies. Am I right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they're always going streaking, right? So today we had
That was like the worst dad joke ever. Like,
stay tuned.
I think we should all like collectively groan, just like, really?
I'd say hold my beer, but it's actually Ryan saying that for himself.
Yeah. Anyway. So,
where's the
I don't know what's worse, the setup or the punchline.
Your groans only make me stronger. So today we reviewed an episode called Rules of Engagement. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the episode. Homer might. He's usually pretty deep diving into the episodes. If you have something you want to talk about, Homer, throw it at us.
Just really quickly. I didn't realize that on Kronos, I believe it is, that there are different neighborhoods, and some Klingons have really, really thick New York accents.
I noticed that too.
Yes.
Well,
that's the Upper East Side of Kronos.
I think there's different dialects. Different
yes, absolutely. Idic.
Yeah. So, if you guys have any other thoughts on that episode, hit us with it. Otherwise, I was thinking, like, do you have a favorite courtroom type Star Trek episode or television show? I know there are things like
I have to recuse myself from this question.
Yeah, aren't there like episodes like say Drumhead or Measure of a Man, or the one where Chief O'Brien goes and gets tried at the Cardassian thing, and some people watch like CSI. Is that like a courtroom? I don't even know.
CSI. That's one.
Wing is one.
Yeah, Law and Order's a good, courtroom
Law and
show.
Order.
Yeah, dun dun.
All right, well let's start with Angie. Angie's got a few.
Oh, I've been watching Voyager recently. Like, I know Carly's so proud of me. But I've been watching Voyager, and I just watched the one, and I'm horrible with episode names. Like, I'm never gonna know. But I just watched the one where the Q wanted to commit suicide.
Right.
They found him in the comet, and I actually really enjoyed that episode. So, like, a lot. I liked the moral dilemma wrestling, that she had, and that even the Q had. And then John Delancey, of course. I just love seeing him. He's fantastic. But like, just to see him wrestling with it as well, and then to actually get in to see the Q continuum, and then I really liked that episode a lot. I like, if you're talking courtroom and stuff, I just thought that was a good one.
Do you guys remember what that episode was called?
Death Wish.
Death Wish.
Thank you. Of course, my Carly was
my favorite, so she stole my answer.
It was really, really good. That one, or the one where Q puts the Enterprise on trial, because that was fun too.
What, like the first episode or the last? Okay.
The one where he's like where Q's
Farpoint.
like there was an encounter at Farpoint. See, I do remember one. But that's just because TNG is my favorite.
It's pretty radical. Carly, do you have a favorite now that Angie stole yours?
Right? That's a little hard. I watched a lot of JAG with my parents, and it's kind of courtroomy, kind of CSI-y. It's a kind of a mix-up, but it's the guy that did Quantum Leap and NCIS, all those spin-offs. JAG was kind of the beginning, and it's the Judge Advocate General, so it's basically all about like the law and order of the Navy. And it was ridiculously awesome. I loved it.
You guys
we used to
Night
film
Court?
right across from JAG.
Really?
So we
I've
would
seen
see
a few
those
Trek
JAG
actors on there. So
we would see the JAG cast. Their soundstage was like on the opposite side of our soundstage, so we would see each other in the alley, and they would be dressed with the whites, and looking real nice and clean, and nothing like a person in uniform. I think is really kind of clean, and it's attractive to the eye.
It's very appealing, and they did really nice with the uniforms. I think the guy that created it was either a veteran or family with veterans, because he knew a lot about the inner workings of the Navy specifically too. So
they say write what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Homer, Freezy. No, Andy, do you have something to add?
I was just going to say, do you guys remember Night Court? That's like one of the greatest.
That's what I was going to say. Night Court, yeah. with Brent Spiner.
Oh, he was the best.
And another Star Trek actor in it, John Larroquette, right?
Yeah. Well, and the Non-Visitor was in an episode too.
Really? I didn't know that.
No way. Are you serious? I used to watch Night Court. Brett Spiner was the judge? No.
No.
He was a character.
No, he played like some hick. Yeah.
Yeah, he played like
okay.
some hick hillbilly.
I was like, what Night Court was I watching? I didn't see Brett Spiner as the judge. Okay. Yes. Marshall Whitfield, I think, was in that one too.
Did have
Richard
a movie
Mull.
to add, really.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was just going to say,
Marshall Whitfield.
I just watched a really great movie. Andy's heard me pester her about it. It's called The Trial of Chicago 7. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin, who did The West Wing. If you've ever watched Sacha Baron Cohen in Borat or anything that he does, it's not serious. Like, this will totally throw you off your game because he is amazing. And apparently they've already got a lot of awards coming at them. They've got nominations left and right. Like, it's all about the riots in 1969 and the 7 that were on trial, including Bobby Seale as well. And so it's just, don't watch it at night because you won't sleep, but it's a very good movie. So I would highly recommend it.
You know, Sacha Baron Cohen was, I believe, originally cast to be Freddie Mercury in that recent movie. But then they had, like,
Rhapsody?
Yeah, but then they had like creative differences, and that's too bad because I would have really liked to see him do that. I think that was a perfect casting choice. I think the Rami Malek guy obviously was great, but I would have really loved to see Sacha, see what he could do with that.
Didn't Rami win the Oscar for that?
I think so. I felt like it was an Oscar role regardless.
I think they cast it pretty damn good. I mean, the guy wins the Oscar.
The thing is, he's a little too short, but he was perfect.
He's a little short, but he was great in that movie.
Yeah.
The guy that played Brian May was amazing.
It was a great movie all around.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy. Your thoughts on a good Star Trek courtroom episode or just a courtroom TV show that you enjoy for some reason?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the original series, Court Martial. Yeah, so that's the episode where there's footage showing Kirk, I think, ejecting the pod, and one of the crewmates was in it. But it was actually the videotape had been doctored, and in the end, I think they were isolating the different heartbeats of the crew, and they found that there was one more. Then, of course, there's a fight that they have. But and his lawyer, I'm blanking on his name, but he was all about books, lots and lots of books, which is not very Star Trek, but it worked.
I feel like I have a very creaky chair. You guys hear that?
Yeah. No.
Yes, I hear it.
I can hear it now.
If you go that hard on it.
The creak is more like squishy.
I couldn't hear it when I was talking. I'll listen harder.
No comment, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll move on from that. Dr. Sue V. Gruner, PhD. What about you? You have a cool Star Trek courtroom episode or your favorite courtroom drama show that you can't get enough of?
No. Excuse me.
That was it.
It's really hard for me to watch any courtroom things. And some of my closest friends will say, "Lighten up to me." I can't. It's too close to home. I just, I enjoy all the Star Treks just because they're Star Treks. I especially like this episode because Worf punched that guy. I think he deserved to be punched in the face. But I don't watch CSI or any of those things. We actually discussed these things at forensic meetings. The forensic effect or the Law and Order effect, CSI effect. It's something that we talk about. People think that what they see on TV is what it's like in real life. And of course, it's not even close.
Yeah.
But I have a movie that I like that's going to show my age. Let's see if anybody else knows who the star of this movie was. The Verdict.
Paul Newman.
Oh, with Paul Newman?
You got it.
Yeah. Oh, good job.
That was an unbelievably great movie, and something very similar to that just happened in real life. Did it not?
It's been a while since I saw the movie, but
I actually saw it in the theater when it first came out.
Wow.
Yes, I'm old.
I haven't seen it. Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know it either.
Paul Newman's character he's a down and out lawyer who gets this case of this woman who's in a coma forever. And I can't remember the exact details, but it turns out a nurse was forced by one of the doctors to change when she ate last. I guess they were doing surgery on her or something like that. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But he gets to court and he finds out that the nurse actually wrote down an hour, but the doctors made her change 1 hour to a 9 so that they wouldn't get in trouble. And Paul Newman's character points that out, but they had a copy. They didn't have the original document, and the copy wasn't allowed in court. So the judge said, we can't allow that. The jury will, not take that into consideration. But they did, because they saw it. And they did the right thing that time on the Verdict.
Sound like a commercial that time on the Verdict.
That time. I believe he won an Academy Award for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the details. I don't remember it too well, but I know it's a very good movie. But yeah.
Speaking of very good movies, Malissa Longo, do you have a favorite courtroom drama Star Trek episode or series or movie?
I don't know that I have a favorite courtroom anything. I did
1982?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, I love Paul Newman, so but there was one movie that I just saw that was kind of good. It's called The Cover-Up, and it's set in the early 1980s, but it was made like last year or something like that. But the feel of it feels like you're back in the 80s, and I was like, oh my gosh! Even the way they filmed it, I don't know what camera they used, but it was amazing. But it was this based on a true story of this lawyer who's defending or brought a civil suit against the police officers of some county because they were responsible for the death of somebody that was in their custody. So it was kind of a police brutality case, but very good, very well done. So it's not a favorite, but it's a recommended movie.
But it is a movie.
It is a movie with courtroom drama.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Timothy Baum, out in Mars, do you have something you'd like to share with us regarding courtroom dramas?
As far as my favorite courtroom drama would be the movie 12 Angry Men with Henry Fonda.
I was going to say that one. Very good.
As far as Star Trek, I think it was in the first or second season where Jadzia Dax was on trial for something that was previously committed. So I think that was one of my favorites. And, you brought up JAG because I was career military. It's like, I was never part of a court martial, but there was an Article 34 hearing, which is like a grand jury. And I was the IT person because it was done remotely. I had to sit there and run the computers and feel very awkward as a fly in the wall while this potential court martial was going on. And then I'll show you my dress whites there.
There you go.
Hang on, let me keep that there for just a second. Let me.
Holy cow!
That's a chin you won't see again.
Pardon?
That's a chin you won't see again for a while.
Yeah, nope. It since I retired last year, I haven't shaved or got a haircut. And so far, my wife has put up with it. There may come a point. I think she's really upset that I said I wanted to get an earring too, and she's like, "Oh, don't." I'm trying to do everything I couldn't do in the military.
Yeah.
So you were career Navy?
Yes, 21 years.
Against you, Army, so go Army, beat Navy.
Oh, it was when I was in a hybrid unit in Afghanistan that was a combination of Army and Navy. And somebody had posted a picture during the Army-Navy game that nobody has ever posted on Facebook that Army beat Navy, because it had been like 14 years since they'd
ever. Yeah.
now
like a couple years ago, though.
Army won. Yeah, Army won last year, and they've won since then. But there was like 14 or 15 years in a row that the last time Army beat Navy was before Facebook was invented. So that's why nobody ever posted.
Wow.
Both of my uncles,
serious metallage going on there.
Yeah. We have the Army Navy has a rivalry unmatched, and the thing is that like I don't even know why. Like it's just rivalry. Like it is what it is.
Going picks on the Air Force.
No, Sue, I was going to say, you stick around long enough, they just kind of throw medals at you.
Well, tell us what some of them are.
Let me put the picture back up so I can see it.
It looks like it would be heavy with all that stuff.
It is actually very heavy, and I had that mounted. Wow. There's 16, 17 of them there. The highest one is an Army commendation, ironically, even though I was in the Navy. I got the Army commendation when I was in Afghanistan. But there's the Navy Achievement Medal. I was awarded 11 times. There's expert pistol, expert rifle, NATO. I can't remember all of it, but Korean Defense Medal, Afghan Medal with campaign star. So there's a bunch
of stuff.
And then you have to wear ribbons that don't have medals. They got overseas service ribbon and some other stuff. So, but yeah, it was very heavy. It was very. What's funny is I always buy. I have a company that mounts them, and I hadn't had a rack of medals done in a while, and I was asked to be best man at a Navy wedding, and he said with medals, and I was like, so I had to order a new set, and it was like $380. And my wife is going, what are we going to get for a wedding present? I said, I'm wearing it. That's his wedding present that I ordered all those medals. So
nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
Really awesome.
Well, this is it, Cirroc. My ideas were of Night Court and 12 Angry Men were taken. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this, Cirroc?
Yeah, I got thoughts. So when it comes to movies, I'm going to say the most memorable court scene I can remember and think of is the one with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Talking about, handling the truth. Can't handle the truth.
Do you know that was ad-libbed?
No.
Did you know that was ad? That was not in the script. Like Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. That was full on Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because he's that good, and so is Tom Cruise. So I'm sure that they could wing it if they wanted to. That's my movie memory of a courtroom. My reality of a courtroom is the O.J. Simpson putting on the glove moment, and if it don't fit, you must acquit. That I think is one of the most memorable real life courtroom things that I've seen. I remember everybody was kind of glued to their television during the 2 weeks or so that trial was going on.
I remember exactly where I was when the verdict for that. I was in class.
I was in class.
History class, and the professor had the little radio there, and we were all listening to it.
Yeah, that was a.
God, how long ago
it was
was
kind
that?
of a mixed reaction. We all remember a mixed reactions. Half of the people were really pissed, and the other half were really not pissed, and so it was kind of a polarized reaction. But that's my most significant real life courtroom memory. Like, I don't think I can remember one that trumps that. And the other one, what was that?
She was asking what year it was. It's in 95.
95, yeah.
25 years, 26 years.
Yeah. And we were doing, we were doing DS9 when that whole thing was going on. So, it would be back and forth a lot. And I remember when the riots, for example, were happening here, they were issuing warnings to all of us to be careful coming in and out of Paramount and whatnot. So there was an awareness of all that stuff in the streets at the time.
How far was that from where Paramount is, the riots?
Yeah, well, they kind of were sporadic, so they kind of went everywhere. I remember seeing them by my like a whole crowd of people by my school on Highland, which is very close to Paramount. And I was with my mom, and we were in the car, and then just a whole mob just came out of nowhere and shaking the car and beating on the hood, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And I was, I had to keep my mom calm in that moment because she was really paranoid and didn't know what to do, and very scared. So that was my real life moment. And then on Star Trek, I like the episode where Quark is defending against his wife, or what is it? It was the woman that was supposed to be. Yeah. And was it the House of Quark? Was it House of Quark?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The second one is the one where Jadzia and Worf hook up.
Right. So this is the episode where Quark is like arguing for the estate rights for the woman that was supposedly his wife. Right? Is that
right?
I like that episode. I thought it was.
Yeah, he's got the notepad and he's driving. The Klingons are like, oh.
Yeah.
He basically annoys them into submission.
He annoys them into submission. They're like, all right,
yeah,
withdraw this case.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So I like that episode too.
Well, there are a lot of Star Trek courtroom episodes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Another one that was
Paris one too.
Right. Another good thing was To Kill a Mockingbird. Some good courtroom type stuff in there. It's not fully a courtroom movie, but that's a good one with some good stuff in it. Well, I think that's it, guys. I think we did it. I think we successfully solved the courtroom drama mystery about what people enjoy watching. I don't know how to close this out. But my favorite is when I see Tim laugh, but I don't hear the laugh. He's like, and I'm like, damn, I wish I could hear that.
I think we're guilty as charged.
Oh boy.
Solving the mystery.
Yeah. There it is.
Like dun, 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 dun.
Fantastic.
Yes, anyway. I have a very loud laugh, so I mute my.
Well, I do want to say special thanks to Tim Baum, Malissa Longo, Carly Creer, Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy, Dr. Suvi, Gruner, PhD, Angie Long, out in Vegas, by the way. Cirroc and I thank you all for joining us. It's been a great time. We hope to see you next week. And everybody have fun. Good luck in Mars, Tim. And we'll see you all again real soon. Always remember the 7th rule.